So for a while, I had become sort of like most of you guys out there. I started streaming music and I never looked back. I got into MP3 CDs first, and you could get a lot more songs on an MP3 CD, and you could take that anywhere. And then I got an iPod, and it kind of just went downhill from there. I would get music, put it on my iPod, and just take that thing everywhere. So for a while there, since I didn't realize how much worse it actually sounded than the real thing, I started giving out some of my CDs and stuff like that, and I started focusing on other stuff as opposed to, my music collection. And boy, was I wrong, and do I regret it. So hello guys, and welcome to a new video, and welcome to my channel where we talk about everything music from death metal to Queen and everything in between. So for today's video, we're gonna do something a little bit different. I think it'll be a little bit like a story time with Pat, like the videos I used to make back in the day, but not really. So let's get to it and let's see how it goes. And let me know in the comment section down below if you like a part 2 of this. Because while I was thinking about doing this video, a lot more thoughts came into my head. So I was talking to one of my patrons, one of my buddies now really, and he gave me a great idea about a video. Because we were talking about our music collections and sharing photos and stuff like that, and it just clicked. So here's the deal. During the pandemic and the lockdown, I was at home all day. I couldn't really work. I was doing guitar lessons back then. I was giving guitar lessons back then, and all of my students dropped because of, lockdown. And Zoom wasn't a thing just yet. And I didn't really have my YouTube channel. I mean, I had some shorts up and stuff like that, but, it was just there. I wasn't really like uploading constantly. So one day I remember I wanted to listen to Anaya The Opera by Queen, and I hit play on my computer, and it sounded fine. It sounded as it usually did, but right there and then I had this feeling that I needed something a little bit more real. So I grabbed the CD and I started looking at it, and I felt that sense of nostalgia, just sitting there and looking through the booklet and just really taking in the music like I used to back in the day. So I figured, hey, I'm not going anywhere, let me just do that. So I popped in a CD, which I hadn't done in years, and it just sounded so much better. And I played it through my computer, through the same speakers, and it just sounded so much better. It had more depth, more definition. It was just awesome. It took me right back to, the good old days. So I went back to iTunes and I played the same song, the opening song for that album, because yeah, within a couple of seconds, I could already tell the difference. And I started playing back on my iTunes, Death on Two Legs, which is the opening song on Anaya The Opera. And I kept going back and forth, and it was like, whoa, that's a huge difference. Why wasn't I doing this all these years? So needless to say, I went back to physical media. I was like, I ditched iTunes. I stopped listening to MP3s. I stopped streaming, all of it, just no more. So I started buying CDs again. And so I started looking through my collection, and I started listening to all the physical media I had, all the CDs I still had. And it just made me so sad to see that I had some awesome CDs that I just gave away because I wasn't listening to them anymore. And some CDs I actually never got a chance to buy, and now they're asking a ton of money for them. So anyway, without further ado, here's 5 albums I love but I don't own. By the way, if you like the video, please drop me a like, drop me a comment in the comment section down below to help me out with the YouTube algorithm. And of course, if you can, please consider becoming a patron to this channel. A little goes a long way, and we surely do appreciate it. That'll go a long way towards rebuilding my collection, and that'll be awesome. Anyway, 3 of these albums I actually owned before, and 2 of them I've never actually had. So let's start with the ones I actually had and gave away for some stupid reason. Number 1, Practice What You Preach by Testament. An awesome album, a banger. It's one of my favorite thrash albums of all time, and it has such an 80s sound that I really love. The guitars sound awesome. I love the bass, the drums, all that snare reverb, and Chuck Billy's vocals were awesome. Even though it was released in 1989, it still sounds very 80s, but it sounds very fresh as well. You've got awesome songs like, the title track, Practice What You Preach, which has an amazing guitar solo by Alex Skolnick. You've got, the ballad, Time Is Coming, Sense of a Mission, Greenhouse Effect. I mean, just a killer album, which I wish I still had. I gave it away to an ex-girlfriend, like a dumbass. The moral of the story is, girls can come and go, but metal is forever. Album number 2, another album I really love and enjoy listening to a lot, and I can't believe I don't have it anymore. This one I actually lent to a friend, and I don't remember who it was because, back then I used to lend a lot of CDs, and he just never gave it back. Funny enough, this album is from the same year as Practice What You Preach. This album is Altars of Madness by Morbid Angel, an album which I love and enjoy, and I actually did a review on the channel right here if you want to check it out, and it's probably one of the best death metal debut albums of all time. Up there with like Vader and Decapitated and some other awesome albums. Immortal Rise, Visions from the Dark Side, Suffocation, Damnation. I could go on. Just Morbid Angel in top form. Great album. Now, album number 3 is an album I can't believe I gave away. I actually gave it away to one of my buddies who really liked the band. He had never heard of this band before. And one day I was playing it and he's like, what the hell is that? That sounds awesome. He hated the vocals, which I did too when I first listened to this band. But of course, I'm not going to sit here and talk crap about King Diamond. So King Diamond is one of my favorite heavy metal bands, but I never owned any other album other than this. So now I have no King Diamond albums. And I got to work on that because, I mean, come on, Pat. And the album is Abigail, a great album. I mean, this album is all killer, no filler. You've got The Funeral, A Mansion in the Darkness, Omens, The Possession, The Seventh Day of July, 1777, The Black Horseman, Abigail, the title track. What am I missing? I mean, all of them are great songs. I just didn't want to go in order. But man, it's an awesome album. It sounds dark, it's heavy, it's fast, it's brutal, it's haunting. It's got King Diamond in it. It's got Mickey D, Andy LaRocque. I mean, it's a great album. What can go wrong? Really, can't believe I gave that away. I mean, honestly, I don't regret it. I am glad I did because, I mean, I know he loves that album and he loves the band now. But it just, for some reason, it just skyrocketed and now they're asking a lot of money for that album. I guess it hasn't been re-released in a long time, so it's really hard to find. So yeah, also, I know if I sit there and I just go on Discogs, I can probably order it, but I'm one of those guys that actually loves going to record stores and just browsing through whatever they have. And I'm always looking for deals, and I'm always like on Facebook Marketplace just like looking at CDs, and I'm looking for deals. I like the hunt. The chase is better than the catch sometimes. So yeah, I love finding deals, and this one just never shows up. But one day I'm going to have to just bite the bullet and go buy it. And speaking of Motorhead, that's number 4 on my list. An album I can't believe I've never bought, and I've been this close to buying it many times actually. One time I called the guy and the guy had just sold it. Another time I actually grabbed it, I had it in my hand, but the thing was so scratched up I didn't think it was going to read, so I didn't buy it. Another time I actually bought it as part of a lot and the guy forgot to send it. So he just reimbursed me for it and I never actually got the CD. I got other CDs. I just didn't get this CD, which I really, really wanted. And the album I'm referring to is Sacrifice from 1995. Awesome album. Now we can actually say that I kinda had this album. Here's the story. One of my first metal albums I ever had was a Motorhead cassette split, which had side A and side B for different albums. I don't remember the order, but I think side A was either Sacrifice or Overnight Sensation, and side B was the other album. So I actually had a couple of songs from this album, and these were the first Motorhead songs I actually really, really listened to. Of course, Ace of Spades was around, and I had heard it, and Overkill too, because I heard the Metallica cover before. But this was an actual Motorhead album, or half of an album and then half of a different album. But on the Sacrifice side, and I'm talking the year 2001, so it's been a while, I remember it having Order, Fade to Black, On Another Time, Dog-Faced Boy, Over Your Shoulder, and I think maybe it also had Sacrifice, the title track. But I might be off. I mean, out of the 5, I think Sacrifice might have not been there, but it could have. I mean, it was a cassette and it's been over 20 years, but I remember those 4 songs being there specifically. I mean, I think it only had the 4 because I remember on the Overnight Sensation side, it only had 4 tracks that I can remember. Like, it had the title track, Overnight Sensation, it had Civil War, Crazy Like a Fox, and Them Not Me. I don't remember it having any more songs than that. So it might have been 4 and 4. So yeah, I kind of had like half of the album, but I never actually had Sacrifice on CD or vinyl for that matter. So yeah, that's another album. And the last album I really, really wish I had, and every time I come across it, it's so expensive. They're asking tons of money for it. And you might actually be surprised, and if you're into metal, you might not even know about this album, but it's an amazing album. And this album is In the Court of the Crimson King by King Crimson. Awesome, amazing, progressive rock album from 1969, way back when. It just sounds so good, man. I remember the first time I heard it, I was working at Sam Ash, and I was talking to one of the other guys that worked there, Ray Regalado, who actually came across this channel by luck. a couple of months ago, and I'm really hoping to reconnect with the guy because he was cool. And he was actually playing this on his iPod or something. And I was like, dude, that band, that sounds really good. That sounds like Pink Floyd. And he's like, no, Pink Floyd sounds like this band. So, of course, I was really put off by the album cover. But once I sat there and I started really listening to it, I was like, dude, this is awesome. It's an awesome album. I never really cared for the opening song, which is 21st Century Schizoid Man. I mean, it's not a bad song. It's just like it takes a little bit too long to happen. And I like an album to just, come out swinging. So yeah, but the second song, I Talk to the Wind, it's a really gorgeous song. And then you've got three more tracks which are long but awesome, like, Epitaph and Moonchild, and of course The Court of the Crimson King, and they're awesome. So there you have it. 5 albums I love but don't actually own. If you want to help me own these albums, you can do so by becoming a patron to the channel or donating to my PayPal. A little goes a long way and we surely do appreciate it. If not, just drop me a like and drop me a comment in the comment section down below so YouTube's algorithm can do its thing and show it to more people and maybe get the channel going. I'd really appreciate that. I'll see you guys next time. Pat out, middle on, dudes, and fuck Spotify.